welcome to edition 116 of our Killa No Filla podcast with me, Rachel Fairburn and Kiri Pritchard-McLean. Just before we start, we'll do our usual disclaimer. This isn't hero worship. We do this podcast because we have mutual interest in serial killers. As long as we are doing this podcast, it stops us from writing to them in prison.
It does. Blwyddyn newydd dda. Happy New Year to everybody. I know it's technically too late to be saying that, but this is the first time you're hearing from us in the future land that is 2025.
Stop apologising. We can say what we want. We could say, looking forward to Christmas, if we really wanted.
Do you know what I love is people who make their whole personality being outraged about different things being in the shops. You know, and they're like,
what, like
there's
me?
Easter eggs in the shop. No, but that's not your whole thing,
No,
is it?
I know. I know what you mean. Like, but also, they put them in there so you'll be outraged and then talk about it. So, also, have some mini eggs. They're nice.
Well, this is it. It's like, there's no material impact. They're not like, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to remove the baby formula insulin and then that's where we're going to put the mini eggs and the Halloween decorations. It's fine. It's an aisle called seasonal. It will change.
I kind of do understand. Like, I do think like that, you know, it does make you feel like you're rushing through your life. Like, oh, God, right, okay, fucking Valentine's cards now, is it? But also then at the same time, you don't have to care. And that they want you to, whoever they are, the man wants you to go, can't believe the bloody mini eggs are in the soup packet already. But I love a mini egg, so I'm quite happy.
There is a vegan version of mini egg that a really kind lady who came to my show in Bristol brought me a pack of. They're absolutely lethal. They're so delicious. If I could get any kind of brand sponsorship, it would be it's very rare that they do like a vegan version of, and it's as good. I'd be interested if you could do a blind taste test because I obviously can't remember what lots of stuff tastes like. But
let's do that.
Yeah, okay.
I guarantee I will know.
Can you tell the difference between Coke and Diet Coke?
I don't. Yes, I can because I don't drink full fat. I don't really drink fizzy drinks anyway. If you see me with a Diet Coke, it's because I'm insanely thirsty. I'd say about 3 times a year I might have a Diet Coke, but I can tell the difference because I don't like the taste of full fat Coca-Cola. I hate it.
Interesting. I was literally talking about this yesterday when I was working in a restaurant. I must have told you this. Restaurant when I was growing up. My friend's dad, darling man, Huey, worked there. And he's a solicitor, but he was doing like this job on the side for a bit of money for his hobbies. And so he used to work in, it was all just loads of teenagers in this cafe and him. And he's a covey. So he's from Carnarvon, yeah, which is really very Welsh. Yeah? And so he was waiting on and... And this he puts down 2 drinks and he goes, there's a Coke, Diet Coke, and they go, which one's which? And he grabs it and he goes, that's the Diet Coke, and puts it down and walks off. And like he was so blatant about it. Like they didn't complain. They were just like, I guess we're just in this guy's house having a Diet Coke.
That's so funny. Oh yes, more of that, please.
More
I like
of that.
Yeah. It's a real rustic approach. I like it.
Rustic, such a nice word for it.
A real rustic approach.
Can I tell you my living nightmare at the moment, Rachel?
Please.
I've got in a very sort of farm-coded move, I've got a chest freezer in my house. So it's broken and we keep our freezer very, very full, which means that my partner and I, for the last week, have been really rolling the dice and trying to work our way through everything in that freezer. So basically, I'm having potato smileys for breakfast. I'm having, bird's eye potato waffles for lunch, and I'm having some oven chips for dinner.
Fine.
So all our meals are...
That's basically what I used to eat before I sorted my nutrition out about 8 months ago. That's fine.
Well, it's exhausting. Last night, I had a bowl, a really nice soup, because my partner makes loads of soups and then freezes them. So really nice soup with some Chinese dumplings from the Chinese supermarket inside. Yum. And on the side, oven baked, so they're absolutely disgusting. No fewer than 18 spring rolls. Because we buy them in bulk from the Chinese supermarket. Again, it's like we just have to get through this because we're getting into danger levels of defrosting now, where every meal is a carbohydrate gamble on whether you're going to shit your pants that day. So that's what I'm living at the moment.
I think that's quite nice.
Thank you.
I quite like I love a potato smiley. I've not had a potato smiley for ages. You know, interesting. You say that, and this is a fact. You know what my diet used to be like? I think I had potato waffle and egg for breakfast every day for about 10 years, which is technically egg and chips in a different shape. I'd have that. I'd have chicken in breadcrumbs. I'd have, a potato. Everything was in breadcrumbs. Everything was terrible. But I thought I've got to sort this out. And I have. And I feel a lot better.
Do you? Yeah. So what kind of things do you eat now? You moved away from your war foods?
I've moved away from the war foods. I mean, I am still very basic. I like your bases, I like your chicken. I like your tofu. My tofu now. A lot of the time I'll have tofu rather than chicken. And meat-wise, I really only eat chicken. I don't really eat anything else. I've started. So I'll have Nicole, this wonderful woman who I work with. She's an online trainer. She's amazing. This is an advert. I just want to say that she's fantastic. I found her because Darren Harrier, our mutual friend, I saw him about 8 months ago. And I went, "You look great. What's happening?" And he went, "Oh, I've got an online trainer. I'll send her." And he sent me the details. She's just amazing. She has. I understand what protein is now. I understand the value of, how much you can eat. You can eat shitloads if you're eating the right stuff. I mean, there's me eating one little chicken in breadcrumbs thinking, but you can, anyway, it's tedious. But not only has it made me feel better physically, mentally, I feel so much better. Listen, I've mentioned body dysmorphia before. I've got that. Yeah. I've got a diagnosis. That has improved tenfold since I've been sticking to a good plan. Also, you go off it. So occasionally, you might want your Pepe's piri-piri and chips. Do you know what I mean? You might want your Nando's. You might want a Mackey's, and that's fine. It's like I'm not. I just feel like I've been unshackled from something.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so good. Please give me her details, because do you know what the one downside to living in rural North Wales is? I have to have a PT because I just don't. I have to be meeting someone for an appointment. That is, I can't just get up and go. We've got a little gym in one of the barns. I say little gym. It's the rustiest, most scary place in the world.
That's all you need, though.
Yeah. Which is great. But I struggle to go. I have to have an appointment, right? There was a while where I was using a girl online, and I was like, "Oh yeah, great." And then there was just enough sessions where she was sat there on her bed folding clothes whilst being like, "Yeah, just do some sit-ups." I was like, "Why am I paying for this?
What is this podcast turning into?"
We haven't started yet.
We've not. Who are we doing?
John Martin Scripps, also known as the tourist from hell or the body parts murderer.
I'm the Garden City butcher.
Oh yeah, Garden City. I love that Letchworth, Garden City. How do you explain a Garden City to people? I mean, how do you explain to people in the UK?
New towns, aren't there?
It was designed as a utopia. I think it was finished in 1905 or something like that. I was reading some stuff about Letchworth, and it was a dry town as well. And even now, it's got a big population. There's only 5 pubs there, so it was designed as I
love that. That's quite a lot of pubs, but in terms of the UK, there's only 5 pubs. Wow.
So yeah, it was this utopian world that was designed. But I think the guy was called. He was definitely an Isambard. Oh no, he was an Ebenezer. This guy designed it. And people said it was Quakers, but it wasn't. And Letchworth was going to be like what the future of the United Kingdom looked like. So there you go.
How wrong they were. I mean, Tourist from Hell is pretty, to get that title from the way we behave abroad.
From
pretty
British
good.
people. Yeah. Bearing in mind we are the country that birthed the flare up the arse. Like, it's to be known as the tourist from hell. You're like, I feel like we should clap like the end
me
of school.
So proud.
But that's it. We are so badly behaved to be the tourist from hell. You literally have to chop up 3 people and put them into suitcases.
Terrible.
That's where the bar is, guys.
Terrible. He was born in Letchworth, as we said, in Hertfordshire, 9th of December 1959, to Leonard and Jean. Now, Leonard was an East End lorry driver, and Jean was a Fleet Street barmaid. So proper, good old London jobs there. Good London jobs. Now, he often would go with his dad, travelling around in the lorry. I used to do that with my dad occasionally.
I did as well.
Yeah. My dad used to drive, he's been a driver for years. I remember he used to drive for this delivery company called Thelwell, who I think it was vegetable delivery, Thelwell. Does this ring a bell with you?
Thelwell is really, if you're a pony person, was a selection
the drawings.
of drawings of the Shetland pony. Yeah,
not that Thelwell. This was like a delivery thing, and I used to be dead impressed that my dad was driving a van. I used to think, wow, look at my dad driving that van, and occasionally I'd go with him in the van. Very exciting as a kid, though. Like when you get up on the steps and you get into the lorry, it's quite exciting, isn't it?
I remember going with my dad in there. Genuinely, where I'm sat now in our producer Owen's house, I so distinctly remember driving along the stretch of road just at the bottom of this road, my dad. So basically, he was on the lorries. So he's an HGV driver doing long distance. And I think my mum was working nights. So there was some times I had to go with him. And we were going to Hull. And I remember I'd never been to Hull and I was really excited. And I remember because I remember being blown away. Did he have one of those seats? The seats are like on like an air cushion. It's like is it hydraulics or basically?
I don't think so.
So it's really comfy, and if they go over any bumps, the seat goes like this.
Oh.
And I remember just thinking it was really cool that you had your bed in the back.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking like this is the most glamorous place I'd ever been in. It was the front of an HGV lorry.
But it's so exciting. I remember the smell of the sort of oil and everything. Do you know what I mean? It's very exciting. I must have told this on the podcast before. So my dad is now a coach driver. I said my dad is then, not my dad is. My dad is. My dad's a coach driver now. And when I was still working at the library, my friend Brill Phil, we were going to the Marble Arch. We were walking up the road past Victoria Station. And weirdly, I think my dad had just dropped like a coach party off somewhere. And he was like, oh, hello, what you doing here? I was like, we're going to the Marble Arch. He went, oh, I'll give you a lift. And we got in the coach and he just drove us up the road. And Phil still says to this day, that was one of the best moments of my life. He absolutely loved getting in the coach with nobody in it and sitting at the front and being dropped off at the pub. I
love that. Because also your dad giving you a lift, that's like such a gorgeous like gesture of how he loves. Do you know what I mean? Like,
this is what I've always
lifts.
said. My dad doesn't speak much, doesn't say anything, but the way you know that he loves you is, oh, where are you going? Right, I'll drive you. That's the way he shows affection.
It's so lush. I remember my big brothers when they were little. One of them was like, I want to be a lorry driver like my dad. So dad was like, all right, well, come with me one night in the lorries. And so they were going somewhere, and I can't remember if it was Alistair or Kyle, but he was asleep before they left the island that we live on. So that's like a 15-minute journey. But my dad, I used to brag, he was like, Kiri was only about 8 years old and she was awake all the way to Leeds on the way to Hull, which isn't bad actually for a kid.
That's pretty good. That is good.
Such nice memories as well of like just me and my dad hanging out. It's lovely.
It's nice, yeah. I mean, I'd say it's nice. I mean, I'd say he doesn't really speak, my dad. So it was a quiet journey. We listened to the radio, but it was quality time nonetheless.
Exactly. And this is quality time for Martin. He's John Martin, but he's known as Martin. So Martin and Leonard, they go out in the lorry. He's very close to his dad. Janet, the sister, seems to be closer to the mum because when they separate, Martin goes to live with Leonard and Janet goes to live with the mum. With Jean. Yeah.
Yeah. So they travel all over. He goes abroad with his dad as well. They go on little trips, they travel around, they do all kinds of stuff. Very sad though, because when he's 9, John Martin Scripps, Leonard dies. He commits suicide.
Yeah, he dies. He puts his head in the oven. Yes. Rachel, just because I think we'll get people saying, will you do a pickup where you say, you don't say commit suicide?
Well, can I make a point about this?
Yeah.
And I feel like I can say this and I mean well when I say this, but I always feel the language around suicide is not there to help anyone affected by it. As I will say, I have recently been affected by this. I don't think it's there to help people, i.e. like me or my family, for example. I think it's to placate others. Does that make sense? I don't feel that this is just my opinion, and you don't write in.
Don't we just say commit so it doesn't mean that it means it's not a crime anymore, right?
I don't know. I just feel like I just feel like we sort of dance around things like this, and I don't think that the language is that important. I think what's important is what's happened. Do you know what I mean? I feel that it's as I say, it's something I'm not going to discuss massively, but recent events that has happened within my personal life, I feel that, like, I don't know, I just feel like when people start going, actually, can you not say that? Can you not? I always feel like it's like, oh, okay, well, it's kind of taking, I don't know how to describe this. It always feels, it feels like you've got to say something in a way that, do you know what I mean? Are you saying that, you know, as someone who's like been affected by this, that the people's first reaction is to like correct your language? Yes. Is like, that's not what I need in this moment. Yes, absolutely. And look, I'm gonna say this. It's often very middle class people that tend to do it. But can you not say that? It's actually it's like, well, it doesn't change the fucking situation, does it? Do you know what I mean? It's still a fucking shit situation. You can say what you want, and in 5 years, someone might listen to this and go, "Well, actually, that's wrong now because you say this." So, and I just feel that it's like, if you're gonna write in about it, don't. Is my advice. Seriously, don't test me. Not now.
New you.
Yeah.
Okay, so he puts his... Is it I read, but then I can never tell if this is them doing that thing where they're blaming the woman.
Yes. That
Jean breaks up with him, right?
Yeah. I think that is
Jean
very
breaks up
much...
with Leonard, and they were like, he was so heartbroken, he put his head inside the oven, because at the time that was like a way... It's mad that was like a way of dying.
I know.
And
poor old Martin, John Martin Scripps finds him by all accounts.
Yeah.
Which is not going to be, it's not one of the best days of your childhood, is it?
No, it's awful.
After Leonard dies, John Martin Scripps starts to develop problems with his literacy. So he leaves school at 15. Now he drops out. And he sort of travels around a bit. He does odd jobs, gets money to go on his little trips abroad and stuff like that, and sells antiques. To be honest, I think this sounds all right.
Well, he sounds like Arthur Knight, selling antique books, odd jobs, travelling around.
Oh, God, please don't bring him up again. Jesus.
Succumbing to the ways of the street.
Don't. We've been having a bit of a sort of someone we know started dressing like Arthur Knight, and I'm not going to be the one to tell him. Are you?
No. I just think is when someone suddenly really takes pride in their appearance and is like, I'm going to have a new look. I just think I'm there to cheerlead for you.
Yeah,
and privately send screen grabs of you on WhatsApp. Obviously, that's what I'm really doing. He really struggles in school because he has undiagnosed, I think, dyslexia, and you can certainly tell and they make a big thing in. I was watching a documentary which is fucking vile, actually, but they were like, an illiterate, and you're like, that doesn't affect, like, someone being illiterate doesn't mean they're stupid. It means that they've been let down by like the teaching system, and they're like, well, it can't have been organised because he was illiterate. And you're like, are you mad? Like, there's so much that he's doing that shows ingenuity.
Yeah.
And anyway.
Yeah, you'd be very surprised, actually, I think, the amount of, people that do fall by the wayside that still, particularly men, actually. Young men from certain sort of deprived areas, you'd be surprised at the levels of illiteracy. I've known a few people that, but then they, they do other jobs, they, manual labour, whatever, can go into very successful careers.
Absolutely. And did you see, I think it happened in lockdown, Tony from E17, the tall...
Yeah.
He sort of was like, I wasn't able to read. And watching him as an adult explain reading, he was like, guys, books are incredible. You just get to go on a holiday in your brain. And oh my God, it was so precious.
I think that's incredible, that. But also, I'm like, I love my Kindle. I'm on my bloody iOS today, aren't I? I think there is a problem with how people talk about reading, because I think there's a lot of snobbery around reading. Do you know what I mean? And I think reading's for everybody, isn't it? Like reading, if you want to read what is perceived as trashy, fucking go for it. If If you want to read your romance books, read your romance books. If you want to read, crap about wizards, you read it and enjoy it, It's for everybody.
I think you're right. And do you know what? It relates to what you're saying about like class and language and stuff, and like middle class people like policing people's language and like policing what art people do. And like, I don't know. So, like being like, you can't actually say that.
Yeah.
But then they will say something far worse, but using much tidier language.
Yeah,
and it's like,
exactly.
you're getting away with it because you're not using, a slur or something like that, but what you're actually saying is far worse.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time people police the language around something rather than taking into account the actual situation. Do you know what I mean? And how, I don't think sometimes how you describe something is the problem. I think the thing that has happened is the problem. Do you know what I mean?
and what you're saying about books as well, of being like, reading is, a sign of what, coded to be intelligent and like a deep thinker, but only if you read the right books, actually. You're actually stupid if you enjoy it in the wrong way.
Exactly. It is, reading's for everyone. Listen, it's like when people, I remember somebody laughing at somebody that I worked with a long time ago because she used to read like, romance books and stuff like that. And I used to think, who the fuck are you taking a piss out of her for just enjoying her dinner, having a read of something that she's, that life's bloody miserable.
Yeah.
Let her enjoy a book.
Let her rub one out in the staff room. Come on.
Absolutely. No. Don't do it in the toilets. Anyway. New year, new me.
In 1973, he's on a cadet training camp trip to France. He goes missing. It's speculated what he's up to, but no good, probably. / chasing girls. He hitchhikes his way back to the United Kingdom at the age of 14. Don't tell me that person's not thick. That the person's thick. He's really capable.
Yeah. Very capable. This is no idiot.
This is no idiot.
He gets convicted of his first crime in May 1974. He's sentenced to a 12-month conditional discharge and fined £10 by Highgate Juvenile Court for burglary. Mm-hmm. Can you not call it burglary, actually? Can you say that it's...
in the year of 1976, he is arrested 3 times for burglary. So this basically starts, he establishes himself as a petty criminal pretty quickly.
In 1978, he's fined £40 for indecent assault as well.
That's all the details. I've tried to dig into that, but that's all the details that are there. Do you know one of the things that will come up later, but really pisses me off? That they look at his background. There was a documentary I was watching. And they said, we really struggle to believe that he would be a murderer because, he was a thief and, there was no sign of violence in his past, but past, and he was just a criminal and a drug smuggler. And it's like, well, that's someone who's comfortable with breaking the law. Also, there's indecent assault in there. You've completely forgotten about that.
Yeah.
And he said, his ex-wife said that she tried to kill him, but he didn't. He just tried to strangle her and she passed out. And you're like, so he literally tried to... That's what you do when you put your hands around someone's neck.
That's attempted murder.
Exactly. And also there's so many stats between men who put their hands around women's necks in a non-consensual way and then the amount that go on to murder. It's incredibly high. And I think it was a police officer who was going, it's said to be violent, but all he did was choke his ex-wife in a fit of rage until she passed out.
Well, the other thing is these are all the incidents that we've heard about, that we know about.
Exactly.
Who's to say there's not other stuff that we don't?
Totally.
There'll be other things that he's got away with.
Yeah.
Indecent assault is a serious crime. So to say that was no indicator of... this is when he's really young as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way he wasn't doing worse stuff that we don't know about. So he's known as being very polite, very reserved, very respectable, mild-mannered is how he's described, but also people like he hasn't got any friends. He hasn't got any kind of connections. So he's travelling around...
Sounds great. What? WhatsApp's never pinging. Lovely stuff.
So he travels around and then he meets Maria Pilar Arellano's. I was trying to not say the double L with a...
In Mexico.
In Mexico. She's from Cancun. She's only 16 when they meet and he's 21 and they get married, which obviously sounds icky and isn't ideal, but it's not it's not the most alarming. Having been a 17-year-old girl, it's not the most alarming age gap to go out with a 21-year-old.
They travel around for 2 years. So they're popping around, going to different countries. I assume enjoying life. He's quite besotted with her. He writes her poetry. Can you find him for that? Did
That's the indecent assault is some fucking shit poems.
Did I ever tell you about the lad at my school who trying to paint himself as some sort of, I don't know, what do you call it? Some sort of libertine type character,
right.
And obviously Oasis is in the heyday, all this Britpop is happening. Britpop's popping. And he, in assembly, played a song and I'm like, everyone's like, he's like, yeah, I wrote this song. I'm like, it's a fucking Stone Roses song. It's a fucking Stone Roses song. And obviously that's the time I couldn't prove it immediately, could I?
No,
I've got I might have my Discman, but I've got something different in it. I've got the Smiths in it. I haven't got my Stone Roses stuff to hand. He's not written that. That's a Stone Roses song, right? And I swear to, do you know? And it got me so much that a couple of other people obviously were like, "Yeah, that's a Stone Roses song," but not everyone was that into the Stone Roses. So I'm like, but then obviously how time used to go when you were at school is the reset was you'd go home. The next day, it's all forgotten.
Yeah,
not
that's
by
true.
me. Decades later, I'm here. The injustice of that, unbelievable, the arrogance to sit in assembly. Unbelievable. Anyway, the poetry. He's writing poems. He's doing all this kind of stuff, and he's absolutely besotted with her. And do they come back to England? I think they do, or something.
They do, yeah. And he's he at some point around this period, I can't tell if it's here, but he's kind of still up to no good and stealing basically to get by. He steals from a fellow worker in a kibbutz in Israel. He's imprisoned in Israel, but yeah, basically he gets done for burglaries in London.
Yeah.
This is between 1978 and 82. He's such an idiot, and this is a pattern with him. He's on day release. For good behaviour, so he goes to see Maria. This is in June 1985. He's about to end a 3-year jail sentence. He's a few months away from it. And he does a runner and commits a burglary. And so she's like, oh, I'm fucking done with this. Because then he gets found guilty. He gets arrested and he gets put away for another 3 years. She's like, I'm not doing this. You were a few months away. You could have just held on and we would be together full time now. I'm not doing this. So she leaves him, moves on, and she gets with a police officer, Constable Ken Cold, is it? It's Ken Cold, right?
Ken Cold. Ken Cold?
Yeah, Ken Cold. So she divorces him.
Kenneth Cold.
Ken Cold, who is he's part of the Royal Protection Squad, which I think is just lying about all the children you've seen being funneled into various royal properties.
Well, Scripps doesn't like this.
No, he goes mad. He does it, but in a very weird way. So that's when he attacks Maria and strangles her. But of course, there's no history of violence there. He also broke into the house and stole some of Ken's clothes. I was like, what are you going to do about that?
Ken Cold clothes?
Ken Cold clothes, yeah.
Ken Cold clothes? Isn't that, that's like something actors do before they go and say, Ken Cold's clothes, Ken Cold's clothes.
He is basically a pain in the ass, so much of a pain in the ass that after only 3 years, Maria and Ken become divorced. She's like, I'm done with this. And he keeps harassing her, keeps sending her stuff. I hate the way it's portrayed as romantic. It's like, it's abusive. They're like, oh, it was his one true love. And they talk about this at the end. Like,
it's all fine and well that he thinks she's his one true love, but she ain't interested.
Yeah.
So have you ever thought about that?
She's trying to settle down with Ken Cold. She's got another true love.
Absolutely. Do you know what? Someone's not interested in you. Leave them alone.
Well, the only reason he does leave her alone is because she literally fucks off back to Mexico. She's like, I'm done with British men. I'm absolutely over it. And moves back to Mexico. And she won't hear of him. Well, he used to send her letters and emails and things saying, we'll be together and we'll be together in the next life. And she does.
No.
I know.
Don't threaten me with the afterlife. Unbelievable.
So at least Maria is able to kind of get on with her life back in Mexico.
He changes his name legally to John Martin. by these points. Now, he's trafficking drugs as well. He's carrying heroin between Asia and Europe for a syndicate. I honestly, I can't think of anything more terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
If I remember, I've got, a mascara in my bag.
Yeah.
It immediately feels like it's in my arsehole and I'm breaking the law. I don't know what it is. When you see drug sniffer dogs, I'm like, oh, it just sends me under.
Do you know, I was at Piccadilly Station the other day. I'm not mentioning this. And I was going out of the station. There was loads of coppers there with a sniffer dog. And the sniffer dog, I think they were training it, and it sort of sniffed around my case and stuff. And they sort of said something as if they wanted me to stop, and I just carried on. I just left. What? I've got to stand here now while I've done nothing wrong. Fuck off. Just go away.
I love how you swagged your way out of a cavity search.
I had my earphones on. I just thought, fuck off, I'm not doing this today. May I hasten to add, obviously I don't have anything. I'm not a drug user. Paracetamol is the strongest I ever take.
Did I tell you? I think
actually, night nurse, give me a bit of that. Yum, yum, yum.
Oh, I don't trust myself with anything like that.
I love it.
I won't even take a paracetamol. Well, I will, but I'm very nervous about taking anything. Not in a sort of anti-vaxxer way, just in a I don't know. Have I told you about this before? I must have. So there used to be, there still is, an airport on Anglesey, and there used to be a flight that used to go down to Cardiff, and it's so funny because they cosplay as a real airport. So they've got a full departures board, even though there's only 2 flights a day and it just goes to Cardiff. And you have to do bag search and everything. And so I was doing a radio show. So we were on Anglesey, and put the bag down, and basically, what was it? Someone didn't have enough room in their bag for something. So the guy checking the bag says, oh, well, can you put those bits in your bag because it's over the weight? So I did that. And then I come along, and then he goes, have you packed the bag yourself? I was like, no, you just fucking did it. But he was so stuck in going through the motions that, yeah. Oh, God, it was so funny. That it was such a sweet airport. It was so lovely.
I was in London a few years ago, and it was just after a terrible thing that happened at the arena in Manchester. Literally days. And I was sitting upstairs in his Costa coffee, killing time. And this guy comes over to me and went, oh, excuse me, would you mind minding my bag while I use the toilet? I went, in this current climate, I don't think so, mate. You can take that with you. Oh, right. Who fucking does that? Who? Seriously? Unbelievable.
Also, you're just yeah.
Also, can I just enjoy my life without being responsible for someone else's stuff?
Oh, I'm the first person to do that. On trains, anything. I'm desperate to give other people the responsibility for my stuff.
I don't know why it happens to me so often that I don't know if it's because I have an air of knowing what I'm doing for some reason, but people will always approach me and, do you know do I work here? No. Which platform's this? I don't fucking know. Go away.
You just give the air of a capable person and a trustworthy person, which is lovely.
Well, anyway.
I'm too countryside. I'll be on the train and I'll be like, excuse me, is it okay if you just keep an eye on my laptop and my phone and this stack of £20 notes while I go to the toilet? I need to have more common sense.
Would you mind minding my birth certificate and passport while I just go to the loo? Thank you so much.
I've got some gold doubloons. Are you okay to just keep an eye while I go and check the shop? And I always say, if I'm going to the shop, do you want anything from the shop?
Don't be building these relationships with these strangers. Stop talking to strangers. I know we do that for a living, but stop it in general, okay?
Okay, all right, yeah.
Eyes down, don't make contact. Now, he's first encountered by Singapore authorities, because this is where we're going in a minute. In 1987, he's arrested at Heathrow Airport for possessing drugs. Now, they find a key on him that is to a safe deposit box in Orchard Road in Singapore. So when officers from the Singapore Central Narcotics Bureau go there, they found 1.5 kilograms, 3.3 pounds, if you're interested, of heroin, worth about $1 million. That's a lot.
It is. And Singapore have some pretty hardline policies.
Oh, yeah.
When
Don't
it
be
comes
fucking about.
They're basically not shy with the death penalty, and drugs is one of the things that you can be executed for.
Don't be spitting in the street.
Don't be spitting in the street.
Can't have chewing gum.
I mean, part of me is like, oh, that's a bit much, but I'm like, oh, I bet it's lovely there.
Look, the older I get, the more I'm like, lay down the rules. Let's have some rules, please. Abide by those rules. Yes. I don't agree with the death penalty. I'll never agree with it. But sometimes I think the threat of it might be nice, but I'm highly against it. It has no place in a civilised society. Anyway, so for this drug offence and another one is at Southwark Crown Court in January 1988. He's sentenced to 7 years in jail. He escaped while he was on home leave. He's rearrested. Why are they letting him out?
Nah, mad.
Winchester Crown Court 1992 added 6 years to his original sentence, which should have kept him behind bars until 2001, but he escaped again. Now, he's in custody at HMP Albany on the Isle of Wight from 1992 to 1993. Now he became a model prisoner. He was doing menial tasks. He was doing the washing and general cleaning. Then they promote him to the position of butcher.
Yeah, he does a 6-week course in butchery that is actually taught by one of the people because I think this is so funny. Oh, his name is James Quigley. Mm-hmm. He works on the Isle of Wight as a prison officer and he runs this 6-week course in butchery in 1993 and says he's a really quick learner. And he was like, he had a natural talent for this. He used to tell people, when I leave, I'm going to become a butcher. But the reason why we know his name and all this business is because he is, when this goes to trial, spoiler alert, James Quigley, the prison officer, is flown to Singapore to give a statement.
Ooh.
And he must have been like, this is fucking brilliant.
Now we're talking.
I've gone from a prison officer in the Isle of Wight, lovely place, but it's no Singapore.
I've never been to the Isle of Wight.
Oh, really? I have. Do you know what? I've got actually, Huey, the guy I mentioned at the top, they love sailing, right? So it's big sailing thing down there.
Cowes Week? Is that what it's called?
Cowes Week. So went down and stayed with him and the family. And the Isle of Wight was great. Do you know what it's got that you would love? Well, let me know if it's still there, guys. There was a shop that I believe, for a start, there was a cafe called the Octopus's Garden. Big fun of that. Very Beatles themed. Had a really good chicken mayo baguette. And then the other thing was there was a shop full of mad shit. And I believe it was stuff that was impounded.
Ooh.
In and left behind at airports. So you didn't really know what you were going to get in there, but it was full of absolutely mad shit and it was really cheap and it was just very wonderful stuff.
Oh, that
and I remember
sounds
being,
great.
Yeah, 14 and being like, I want to spend all my money in here.
How? Do you know, yeah, it's so weird. I think the Isle of Wight is probably one of the few places that I've not been in the UK.
There's a festival and stuff there, isn't there?
Oh, count me out. You know my feelings about festivals. I
wonder if there's a tour. I'd love to do a tour date there because the Isle of Wight is lush. Interesting.
Oh, I think a while ago I did get asked. I think there is like a comedy festival. I think it's around June.
Yeah, there's a ferry and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah. And listen, I don't want to get on a ferry with other comedians. So he's then transferred on 20th August 93 from the Isle of Wight to the Mount in Hemel Hempstead. And because his sort of category has changed as a prisoner because he's been ever so good. Now, in 1994, he escaped while on home leave, which was granted only 2 days after he was refused parole.
This is mad.
Yeah, it's so mad. So his mum was like, hang on a minute. He sold all his belongings to fellow inmates while he's in prison.
Yeah.
Right? And she'd noticed this before. She'd said to the authorities, look, he sold all his stuff. Don't release him. Do not release him. Now, after she says later on that the Home Office had buried their heads in the sand, they know if they'd have done what she said, none of whatever eventually happens would have happened. She said that she begged them not to let him go on the release. So,
really?
Yeah. She gives him 200 quid to travel overseas. To avoid recapture, he uses another inmate's birth certificate, Simon James Davies, and gets a passport in his name. Now, within a month, he turns up in Mexico as John Martin. I wonder why he's gone to Mexico. Probably to bother his ex-wife.
Leave her alone,
Leave
for fuck's sake.
be. So he reported to, he says to the British Embassy, he's so bold. He goes to the British Embassy and he says, I've lost my passport. And they get him a replacement. Now, he then arrives in Singapore from San Francisco on the 8th of March, 1995. So he's in Singapore and it's really horrible, actually, when you think about it. It's really horrible. But I always find it so, to be able to hop around like that, I find it like it must be exhausting.
Yeah, I don't know. Just as someone also who likes having their stuff around them. I can't think of. I've got one of my brothers. It's a in joke in the family WhatsApp. I should say the sibling WhatsApp. But he sort of brags. He's like, yeah, I can get all my stuff in 3 bin bags. I'm like, I've never heard anything sadder. But because I love my house. I love having all my stuff around me. Like, that makes me feel safe, and I like having just a giant nest. And he's like, he loves the fact that he could just like go at any moment.
Any minute. He can just, that's pretty. I quite like that.
I don't know. Like, he's like, the thing about me is I've got no possessions. You're like, that's not, I wouldn't brag about that.
He's living the life of that John Lennon sang about in Imagine.
It's true. It's true. It's weird what things he has hung on to, though. Fair play to him. He's got he has got bits that mean something to him. You know what the problem is? He puts most of them in my fucking house for storage. Anyway, I won't get into that.
That's for the family WhatsApp.
That's for the sibling WhatsApp, which is called. Do you just call your like WhatsApps? Are they in joke names or are they just clinical?
To be honest with you, I don't have a family WhatsApp. We don't do that. We're not.
But what about other WhatsApps?
Oh, let's have a look. Actually, what have I got?
So my brothers, the one I've got with my brothers is called 8 Pound Jeans.
Is that an in joke?
It's an in joke, yeah, because the brother I'm talking about takes after my father, and he's notoriously tight, but thinks he's generous, and at some not generous, thinks he's not tight, right? So that's a real Achilles heel there. So he was saying, "Oh, is this too much to pay for jeans?" And then my other brother said something like, "Well, yeah, because you normally pay about £8." And Kyle, the brother I'm talking about, is very into his images, his brands. He's got to be turned out a certain way. And he went fucking ballistic. He's like, I've never paid £8 for a pair of jeans in my life. He's like, you're thinking about Dad when he went to Matalan and he used to cut off the bottoms of them when he got his Xantos jeans. And my other brother was like, I'm pretty sure you paid £8 for a pair of jeans. And just like, these are two men in their 40s, like winding each other up. And then it was escalating. So I just changed the WhatsApp group to 8 Pound Jeans. And it's stayed.
To fuel the fire.
Yeah, but also it means I can always find it.
I'm not a big so a group that I'm in with 2 close friends is called I can't say it out loud, and people we hate. I'm in one called Broken Promises.
What's that one about?
That's with my friends. It's me, Tim, and Gabs and James. I don't know why it's called that. Oh,
funny.
Lifetime Movies and Health Anxiety. That's another one. That's I don't have health anxiety really. That's more about to discuss terrible made-for-TV films that we find. And I'm in another one called Spooky Slags, which I'm in with Hannah and Susie, the Ghost Huns.
Love it.
That's nice. What about what's yours? Oh, we've got AKNF the movie.
Yeah, which is about which is us and our producer Owen. Yeah. I've got one with my brother and his wife. That's gaming, movies, and books. I don't think we've ever discussed any of those. Now, there's one that we used to call it Midnight Curry, and I still call it that if I'm referring to it.
That's an old group.
That's a very old group. I don't know if you can age WhatsApp groups, but that's there from the beginning. And
I think that's probably one of the oldest WhatsApp groups on earth.
I do think so, yeah. Other than those like stag do ones that people forget about, and then once every sort of 10 years, someone will be like, so-and-so's dead, or a horrific video of something.
Yeah.
I can tell you, Midnight Curry isn't actually called that anymore, but I can't say what it's called because it is a slightly mean joke about another comedian that I don't even know that they would get if I said it out loud.
Well,
but yeah,
this is it. Oh, I also have, look, and I don't want to go off it. I do have a WhatsApp group that's dedicated to somebody that is an idiot online that, and I can't say the name of the person.
Will you tell me afterwards?
I'll tell you afterwards, yeah.
I've also got Pelvic Flawless, which is the group that is the group of girls that I do a dance class with on a Wednesday.
I've got one here that is Harrogate, and that's with Tim and his parents. And that was just when we went on a trip to Harrogate over Christmas 2 years ago. And the last message in Harrogate says, Tim, less said about that, the better. So I'm going to revisit that and find out. Less said about that, the better.
Of course, scanning through that now, a classic bit of ADHD, just seen loads of messages I've never replied to.
That ADHD, you will have messages. I cannot have unread messages.
Really?
Oh my God. It's enough to make me implode. I don't know how people can't read.
I've got 48 at the moment.
No.
It's not too bad.
I have to, you know what? I have to have my email on 58 all the time.
Oh, my email's gone bad. I should have cleared it over Christmas. What's my email? One's on 326, and then I've got my junk one, which is on like 10,000.
Please, no more.
Oh, no, 13,500. Anyway, this is some quite dry admin. So this has turned into a longer episode than we thought, mainly because we spent so long talking about mini eggs.
Yeah, we did.
So we'll go up to, he's in Singapore, he's in the airport, and he meets a person there that we should talk about in the next episode.
Yes.
And we'll talk about his victims. And it's very quick arrest and trial. So that'll be, I think, one more episode.
Yes, woo!
I've got loads on the trial, so you don't even have to like sniff around that. So don't worry about that.
God. He's quite an unknown one, really, this guy. I found out about, how did I find out about him? I can't remember, but I was like, I've never heard of this guy before. Also, can I ask, let me put this out to the listeners. I found ages ago, and I'm talking a good few years ago, it was a serial, it was sisters that were serial killers. Do you remember this? And it was sort of a cult. And I sent it to you and I said, oh, this would be a great episode. I cannot find anything to do with it at all. Have I dreamt it?
Oh, that's a good
one. Do you remember?
They'll know.
It was like, it sort of looks about 60s, 70s. I remember the picture was black and white picture with very long dark hair. And it was about, I think it was sisters who'd committed these murders, and it might have been a cult. If you know what I'm talking about, do let us know. If you don't,
that might be a good one.
Have I imagined this? I don't know. The possibility is there.
They'll definitely, in the history of everything, there'll be sisters who've murdered someone. Also, we're on sale in Australia. Rachel's on tour in the United Kingdom and taking, is it the same show you're taking to Australia?
No. Let me make this clear. I am doing Side-Eye, my character show. That is the tour here in England, in the UK. What I will say is, I did get a snippy message the other day about how there's no Welsh date. I couldn't make it work. I couldn't make it work.
Don't fucking start, and I will say this as a Welsh person, when people, and I'm someone who gigs all over Wales, but you'll notice I'm one of the few comedians who do. You know why? You don't fucking turn up to gigs. So when people, like, it's so hard to sell tickets in Wales if you are not Welsh, and even as a Welsh person, you have to work very hard to sell it. So I always get annoyed when people are like, oh, they only go to Cardiff, but it's like, hey, North Wales, until you start turning up for gigs, people won't come there on tour.
Well, same as in tour date-wise, Belfast, please. You ask every time I come, you don't buy tickets.
Same, yeah.
Look, I've got to get on a plane, mate.
But also, when I get there, I have to work really, really hard to sell tickets. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
and that's
it is.
That's the annoying thing.
But this is like, and there is no reason. The reason that I don't have a Welsh date this time is because I physically couldn't make it work. I couldn't get a date to fit in with what I was doing. And that happens sometimes. And as if I'm going to ignore Wales, do you know what I mean? And upset my Welsh family. I just couldn't make it work. But, next time. Anyway, this is the character show Side-Eye. There's this character show, there's a break, there's a bit of stand-up and a bit of chat. Australia is a new stand-up show. A bit of mixed in with the best of, called Livid Doll.
Love it.
And that's on sale. The old Killa shows are selling great there. Do come along. It's going to be exciting. I'm on tour from February. Come along. The end.
I'm bringing my tour show Peacock to Australia and Aotearoa as well. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone who's bought tickets for everything so far. It's been great. I'm really excited about it.
Yep. And that's it really. Thanks.
We will go to, Rachel, we will most probably stop in Singapore airport because that's what I did when I went to New Zealand.
I believe. Although
It's incredible.
Are we on the same flight?
Oh, I haven't confirmed my flight yet. Have you?
To be honest, I said just pick the early one.
I think I said that as well.
Yeah.
But they haven't got the flight back because I might be staying, going on holiday to Fiji.
Go for it. I wish I could have done that this time, but maybe next time. Who knows? I'll be honest. I'm very. It's a busy year.
Yeah.
I was thinking, when am I going to get some bloody Cornwall time? Not been for 2 years.
Oh shit! Well, that's why I'm going on holiday. I haven't been on holiday since 2019 properly. So
yeah, I think 2020 was the last time I went when I went to Japan. But
oh shit!
Can't whinge.
Although we managed to for most of this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We never
Thank
take it for
you.
granted.
Bye.
And we'll see you with part 2 very soon.